let's rank the 14 most brutal off-screen humiliations in the Naruto series. Naruto has more off-screen fights than most people realize, but I'm not gonna choose off-screen fights that we know just because of lore or because a character told us. I'm actually going to select fights that we know a little bit about, and that we see at least a little bit of it. It may be the beginning of the fight, the end of the fight, or maybe just before the characters begin fighting at all, but we see something of that fight in the manga, and in the manga is an important thing here, because some of these fights are actually not off-screen in the anime. They decide to show us the fight, which in many cases doesn't really work, and in some cases it does. And as all these fights here are gonna be stomps, obviously this is the theme of the video, which to be fair, when a fight is off-screen, that's usually the outcome anyways, but I'm also gonna be talking about whether or not it was a good idea to make the fight off-screen, because some of these fights would have been really cool to see, and they could have added something to the manga. Starting off with number 14, Might Dai versus the 7 Ninja Swordsmen. So Guy and his Genin team get trapped in the middle of the Third Great Ninja War by the 7 Ninja Swordsmen of the Mist. They have absolutely no chance to win that fight, but Guy's dad, Might Dai, shows up, and he sacrifices himself to save his son and his son's team by using the 8th gate. Obviously, we don't see the fight unfolding, but it's very much implied that Might Dai did a lot of damage to the 7 Ninja Swordsmen. And no, this fight should have not been shown. The way Kishimoto did this fight, as a flashback intertwined with Guy using the 8th gate against Madara, the 4th Great Ninja Wall, is amazing. This is much better done in the manga, because the anime puts a lot more fluff in the flashback, but in the manga, the transition of Might Dai beginning to activate the 8th gate, you turn the page, and then Guy activates the 8th gate, is one of the best scenes in the Naruto series. And I'm ranking this pretty low because it wasn't necessarily a stomp, because some of the Ninja Swordsmen survived Might Dai. However, he definitely killed many of them. We don't get an official number of how many of the 7 he killed in the manga. However, in a filler episode, Juzo tells Itachi that Might Dai killed 4 out of the 7. And when you look at the 7 Ninja Swordsmen that fought against Might Dai, and if you trust the Naruto filler, you can actually deduce the 4 that Might Dai killed. Juzo obviously survived because he eventually joins the Akatsuki in the filler and tells Itachi about the story. Fuguki also survives because we know that canonically Kisame is the one who kills the guy before he leaves the Mist Village, taking Samehara and everything. And we also know Raiga is alive in Naruto Part 1 because there's a filler arc that he is pretty much the main villain. So those 3 survive. Therefore, Might Dai kills the unnamed ninja that's using Hiramekare, you know, Chojiro's sword. We literally don't know the name of this guy. Kuriarare, the guy with the needles. Jinin, the guy that wields Kabutowari here. And also the guy wielding the explosion sword, which we don't know if that's Jinpachi or not, the guy that we see in the war arc, because he's wearing like a mask, and Jinpachi doesn't wear that in the war, so it could have been just another ninja that wielded the sword, another 7 Ninja Swordsman. But those would have been the 4 that Might Dai kills, if you want to believe the fillers. Moving on to number 13, we have another 7 Ninja Swordsman fight here, but that's going to be in favor of the 7 Ninja Swordsman, which is going to be Kisame versus Roshi, the Jinchuriki of the Four Tails. Kisame captures the Four Tails Jinchuriki midway through Naruto Shippuden, and we just see Kisame carrying the poor guy on the Samehara, like on his back. It's pretty brutal. He doesn't even care about the dude at all, and he just talks to Itachi as he carries Roshi around. So yeah, overall pretty humiliating, but we don't know exactly how the fight went. But because Kisame doesn't have a single scorch mark on him, I have to assume it wasn't too difficult. Which just shows how strong Kisame is, because we see in the Minato spin-off one-shot manga that Roshi was able to use this avatar-like version of the Four Tails and shoot Bijudamas from it. So yeah, he was pretty strong. Man, he gave Naruto some trouble when he fought against him in the war arc as Neto Tensei controlled by Obito. He was using the magma style and everything. The guy was strong, man. And Kisame just off-screened him. Number 12, Kankuro versus Sasori. After Deidara captures Gaara, Kankuro decides to go after the Akatsuki duo, and he ends up fighting against Sasori, which is a terrible idea because Sasori designed Kankuro's puppets. And yeah, this fight's actually shown a little bit more in the anime, but in the manga, it's just an off-screen stomp. Kankuro summons his puppets to face Sasori. They cut away, and then when they come back, Kankuro's defeated on the ground. His puppets are destroyed. He does manage to catch that little piece of cloth from Sasori so they can track him later, so that's a good thing, I guess. Overall, a great stomp. Number 11, Genma and Raido versus the Sound 4. Yeah, Genma and Raido, that 2v4 was not good for them. They got beaten up badly, they almost died. They were out of chakra though, because they were on a mission before, and the Sound 4, all members collectively had to enter the second stage of the curse mark to beat them. So it wasn't easy, but none of the 4 members of the Sound 4 were terribly hurt, and Genma and Raido were destroyed essentially. But we do see that in this fight, Genma uses his special ability, his toothpick attack, to block a kunai, pretty based. And I'm pretty sure that if Raido and Genma had chakra left, they would have taken care of the Sound 4, and the Sasuke retrieval arc wouldn't even happen, so that couldn't happen, obviously. This fight should not have been on screen. It was a good thing that it was off screen, because we couldn't have seen the transformations in the curse mark before the Sound 4 fought against the main characters in the Sasuke retrieval mission. It was a fight to hype up the Sound 4 and also tease their powers. Number 10, Hanzo versus the Sanin, the 3 of them at the same time. The fight that gave them the name Sanin. That was definitely a stomp, and Hanzo kind of chose not to finish the Sanin off because he seemed pretty alright when he named them the 3 legendary Sanin after their encounter, and if the guy is powerful enough and confident enough to give the people he was fighting against a title, I have to assume it was a massive stomp, and by the way the Sanin reacted to the fight, it definitely was the case. Now, this fight could have been shown a little bit more, maybe through another flashback or something like that, but because it was inherently a flashback fight, it's more difficult for you to show it and not break the pacing of the story. You could have actually shown this fight if Hanzo didn't fight against Mifune in the war arc and fought against someone more relevant, maybe even Tsunade. Then you could actually have the flashback of the 3 Sanin fighting against him back in the day. But anyway, it's not a terrible loss, I would say. Number 9, Sasuke versus the Sound Ninja Horde. This is a quick scene when Sasuke is training under Orochimaru, just before Sasuke attacks Orochimaru actually, and we see Sasuke having taken care of essentially an army of sound ninjas without breaking a sweat. The fight happens completely off screen, we don't see anything like that, we just see the ninjas on the ground, all defeated, but none of them killed by Sasuke, which is an important character trait for heavy Sasuke. And obviously this isn't a fight we had to see. Actually just seeing the final results and all those ninjas on the ground is more impactful than just seeing Sasuke punching them down and exchanging a lot of taijutsu blows and kicking them and everything. So overall, very good idea to do that, and obviously an off-screen stomp. Number 8, Minato versus the Stone Ninja Army. This happens during the Kakashi Gaiden flashback. Minato splits from his team and he rescues another Leaf Village battalion that's getting pelted by the stone. And this is a very epic fight because Minato shows up and the Leaf Ninja says, "Oh, don't blink because you're gonna miss it. You're about to experience the yellow flash in the battlefield." As we see Minato from behind and they are about to toss Minato's kunais with a flying Raijin mark, which is going to let him essentially kill all the enemies in a few milliseconds, I guess. I don't know. Very, very quickly. And no, I don't think this fight should have been shown. It's much more epic if we don't actually see how Minato does it, but we just know the results. I mean, we kind of know how he does it because we saw him killing that ninja before, but not showing it makes the pacing move quicker, and it also lends Minato this air of mystique. Number 7, Gaara versus Dosu. Gaara just destroys Dosu, who came to him and was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and kill you so I can fight Sasuke in the finals and prove to Orochimaru I'm strong," and Gaara was like, "Nah, bro." He partially transforms into Shukaku and claws Dosu down. Now, this fight is technically off-screen because we don't see it happening, but we actually experience the whole thing as the story is going because Kabuto and Baki are actually watching it unfolding, and Kabuto's like, "Oh, so this is what Gaara looks like." Because yeah, Gaara one-shots him with a claw attack and everything. It's a quick fight. And obviously, it's great that it is off-screen because it just makes Gaara feel that more threatening and it builds up his powers. Sasuke is gonna have to face that, and it also builds up the mystery. What is this guy actually? What the hell is going on here? Number 6, Naruto vs. Mizuki, the first antagonist of the series. Yeah, this fight technically ends off-screen because Naruto does exchange a few blows. He lands a knee attack on Mizuki as he's about to strike Iruka and everything. But the part that's actually off-screen is when Naruto uses the 1000 shadow clones and just pummels him into a pulp, almost. We just see a panel of the sounds of the punches and everything, and then the next panel is Mizuki completely demolished. And yeah, I'm fine with this fight being off-screen because we don't have to see the guy getting punched 1,000 times. We just have to understand, yeah, Naruto destroyed him. That's actually fine. And now that I'm thinking about it, there's only one fight on this list that I wouldn't make off-screen because all the others work really well. Number 5, we have Orochimaru vs. Raza, the 4th Kazekage. Obviously, Orochimaru impersonates Raza to infiltrate the Leaf Village, attack Hiruzen and everything, kill his former sensei, but in order to do that, he had to kill the Kazekage, which is something we find out after the failed attempt to destroy the Leaf Village when a group of sand ninjas stumble upon the Kazekage's body with a lot of bugs and everything. He had been dead for a while there. We just know that Kimimaro may have helped Orochimaru in a way in that fight, and that Orochimaru kills him with a sword to the chest. We don't actually see anything else about the fight. And because Raza didn't even have time to take off his Kazekage hat, I have to assume it was some sort of ambush, and that there wasn't even really much of a fight to begin with. So yeah, pretty big stomp. Number 4, the Ginkaku Squadron versus Tobirama. So we see in Danzo's flashback as he is dying that Tobirama Senju, the 2nd Hokage, sacrificed himself to buy time so his Leaf Squadron could escape. He fought against the Ginkaku Squadron by himself, which is comprised of 20 Cloud Ninjas, and he died. And we see how Ginkaku and Kinkaku perform in the war arc. It's not terribly impressive, which doesn't bode well for Mr. Tobirama. But overall, the scene works fine with Tobirama dying off screen there. We don't have to see how it actually happens. It actually lends some mystery to it all. And let's be real, if we saw Tobirama getting killed by those two dudes and their squadron, he would be pretty pathetic in our eyes. It wouldn't be good, so yeah, let's just leave it off screen. Number 3, Shisui vs. Danzo. We only see the aftermath of this fight in the manga because Itachi shows the flashback to Sasuke via Genjutsu, and in that flashback, Shisui had lost his eye because Danzo stole it from him and everything, and that's when Shisui gives the other eye to Itachi and jumps into the river, never to, be found again. We actually see this fight playing out in the anime. Danzo, the Beast, the goat, absolutely demolishes Shisui with a taijutsu combo and then blocks out his eye. But it's not really a fight we had to see. It's cool that we get that in the anime because Danzo stomping Shisui is always nice to see, but not really necessary because it's implied. For number 2, we have Temari versus Tenten. Oh, Tenten. Tenten. The queen of off-screen. Oh, it even rhymes. Now, for the anime-only watchers here, if you don't know, in the manga, the Tenten versus Temari fight is literally one single panel. It's just that panel of Tenten hanging on Temari's fan after she lost the fight. We do see more of it in the anime, but it's completely useless because that fight is pretty damn garbage. Tenten fighting is just not really exciting, the animation is wonky, and the impact we get in the manga by Temari just kind of saying, yeah, that was easy, and Tenten is stomped, is actually the point of that fight, and not showing Temari's full powers also builds up more mystery around her character. So when they do that in the anime of Temari slowly opening her fan and she says, oh, when the third moon appears, you're gonna be gone, it just doesn't really work. It also makes the pacing tank a little bit. The preliminaries were really quick and fast pacing in the manga, but in the anime that's not really the same thing because several fights were stretched. Temari versus Tenten, the one that got stretched the most, obviously, but also Sakura versus Ino, for example. So the original off-screen version of Tenten versus Temari is better. And for number 1, we have Madara versus Tobirama in the war arc. This is a pretty cool fight. And if you think about it, Madara has had a lot of off-screen fights. Both of his fights against Hashirama that we get to see in the manga have major points that are off screen. The fight against Hashirama in the Valley of the End was cut from the clash between the Thousand Arm Buddha statue and the majestic Ataru Susanoo to them being very tired already, so we lost a lot of the fight. And also the fight between Edo Madara and Edo Hashirama in the war was 95% off screen, but they were not stomps. Actually, they were very tight fights both times. However, Madara versus Tobirama is definitely a major stomp. After Madara is revived by Rin Tensei and gets one Rinnegan back, Tobirama tries to sneak up on Madara and slice him with his flying Raijin Slicer, the same jutsu that gravely wounded Madara's brother Izuna way back in the day. It's pretty poetic. However, Madara senses Tobirama coming from behind and ducks. He punches Tobirama's arm, which sends the kunai flying up, and Madara counterattacks, moving for a stabbing motion with a Rinnegan rod. But Tobirama flies to the kunai Madara had tossed up, which was marked by the flying Raijin, and positions himself to attack Madara from above. Pretty advantageous position. That's when the fight cuts, and when we go back to the fight, Tobirama's on the ground, absolutely defeated and impaled by several Rinnegan rods. Madara even tossed the Rinnegan rod down the middle of Tobirama's face, which is pretty humiliating. And Tobirama just has to listen to Madara's speech there. That one's a major stomp, but this is one I would have actually liked to see unfolding. Yeah, it's impactful when the next thing we see of that fight is Tobirama absolutely demolished, but a fight between Tobirama and Madara would have been very dynamic to see. Yeah, obviously that Madara was way stronger than Tobirama. Madara has always been stronger than Tobirama, but that version specifically, an alive Rinnegan Madara is obviously gonna beat him, but it would have been cool to see the interaction between Tobirama's and Madara's jutsus there. So this is the only fight on the list that I actually would have preferred if it was on screen, but it wasn't bad because of it. It was a really cool fight. And also, an amazing stomp, because that's the second Hokage there on the ground, impaled, off screen. Like this video if you enjoyed, and please subscribe if you haven't, and don't forget to ring notifications, those are important. And it takes 2 seconds, please do those things. Also, watch this other video right here from our cool Naruto content, and thank you so much for watching.